Good morning, everyone. Is Helena with us? There you are, Helena.
I'm here. Councillor Stone, we are live.
Thank you very much. Welcome, committee. So I'd like to call this meeting to order and welcome everyone to the hearing. This meeting is being held electronically in accordance with Section 238 of the Municipal Act 2001. The procedures for the meeting are as per the town's procedural bylaw and the electronic meeting protocol during emergencies. And I confirm that we do have quorum. Moved by Helena Renwick, seconded by Kenneth Donald. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment agenda dated January 13, 2021 be hereby adopted as printed and circulated. All in favor? And that's carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. All right, moved by Kenneth Donald, seconded by Jason Fitzgerald. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes dated December 9, 2020, and the recommendations contained therein are hereby adopted as printed and circulated. Any comments or questions? All in favor? And that's carried. All right. I'd like to welcome everyone to the public meetings to consider applications for minor variances to the zoning bylaw. The input received by agencies, public, and staff is important in order for the committee to make sound planning decisions. The procedure to be followed in these meetings will be as follows. A brief explanation of the application and any correspondence received to date will be given by staff. The applicant or the representative will be asked to provide any additional comments without repeating the information already outlined by staff. Any members of the public present will then be permitted to ask questions or provide comments respecting the applications. Any persons making representation are requested to first state their name and mailing address. Please note that presentations are limited to 10 minutes. Once the hearing is concluded, the input received will be considered by the committee prior to making a decision on the applications. If you wish to be notified of a decision of the committee, you must file a written request for notification. All right. And Curtis is going to start us off with the Wenger application.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of committee and those members of the public with us here today. I'm just going to quickly share my screen. There we are. The subject property is located at 72 Main Street East. The lot is designated Central Business District and zoned Central Business District mixed use. The purpose and effect of the application, there we go. Purpose and effect of the application is to permit a reduction in the required number of existing parking spaces from 3 to 0 to permit the construction of a permanent patio. The subject lands are located within the Central Business District designation, which functions as a primary service center for the town and contains the most significant concentration and broadest range of retail, service, commercial, administrative, and cultural uses. The official plan states that development and redevelopment of properties should be geared towards physically enhancing the CBD for pedestrian use. In this case, the proposed patio fronts on a Rivermill Park and the town-owned docks, which are pedestrian-focused amenities that provide space for events and leisure. The construction of this patio will further enhance the streetscape abutting these areas while providing additional outdoor space for one commercial unit. To address the loss of parking in the CBD, section C376 of the town's official plan states that the town may consider cash in lieu of parking as an option for new development. The funds collected under the provision must be set aside and used to create new public parking within the CBD in convenient locations that support the pedestrian-oriented character of the area. As a result, staff are recommending that the approval of the application be conditional on cash in lieu parking being provided in accordance with the cash in lieu parking bylaw. A letter was submitted in response to the proposal. However, we've received additional correspondence sort of suggesting that the concerns raised have been addressed, and that letter has subsequently been withdrawn. No other correspondence related to the application has been received. The application appears to conform to the policies of the official plan and provincial policy statement, and therefore staff are recommending approval.
Thank you very much. I'll call on the applicant or the representative to make any comments about the application.
The applicant or their representative are reminded to use the raised hand button or press *9 on their telephone to indicate that they would like to address committee. And Chair Stone, I can confirm there is one hand raised.
Let's bring them down.
Please note that during the transition, your video panel will be momentarily interrupted. Once you've been added to the meeting, your video will appear in the committee member panel screen. Please have your microphone and video, if possible, turned on before you begin speaking, and confirm your mailing address.
Your name and your mailing address.
Good morning, Nancy Wenger, residential address 233 Hunters Bay Drive, Huntsville, Ontario. Shall I go ahead?
You were just give any information that we don't already know. Otherwise, you can just remain here for questions.
Okay, so I am the building owner. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for allowing Jess and I to attend this morning with you guys to discuss this. Thank you very much. I would like to repurpose my parking spaces into a year-round permanent outdoor patio. As a relatively new building owner, COVID has negatively impacted some of my commercial tenants. I have lost one tenant, and that unit has been vacant for over 6 months now. I have 2 other tenants that are struggling, and one of those tenants has said they will not renew the next lease because of financial difficulties. The patio, to me as a business owner, would help generate some needed financial stability to my investment property in the downtown of Huntsville. Of those 3 privately owned parking spaces, one is allocated to a residential tenant, my tenant. One is my personal parking spot, and the third one is not used as a parking spot, but an outdoor seating area for the cafe. The cafe, the outdoor seating area, presently has many concerns, and one of which is the safety of customers sitting between parked cars with no barriers. With the above mentioned concerns, the COVID restrictions on indoor seating and our downtown Main Street construction starting in a few months, a year-round permanent patio would be very positive for the area, starting with a welcome facelift to my building. And to beautify the back alley maze of Dara Howell Way. With the street construction and frustration of motorists sure to come, I believe this summer there will be an increase in boating traffic, and they'll be really happy to see a new patio that they can come and visit. This will spark a rejuvenation for the other buildings and more opportunity for business owners adjacent to Rivermill Park, encouraging more shopping local and the families of the children's park and people to the green space. More patios should be a highlight in our downtown. We hope for people to eat, shop, and play by the water's edge. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I'll call on any members of the public that would like to speak to this application.
Members of the public are reminded to use the raised hand button or press *9 on their telephone to indicate that they would like to address committee. And Chair Stone, I can confirm there is one hand raised. As a reminder, when you're being added to the meeting as a panelist, your video will be momentarily interrupted. When you do get added, please have your microphone and video on, and please indicate your name and full mailing address. That they would like to address committee. And Chair Stone, I can confirm there is one hand raised. As a reminder, when you're being added to the meeting as a panelist, your video will be momentarily interrupted. When you do get added, please have your microphone and video on, and please indicate your name and full mailing address.
Hello, Mr. Kemmerer.
Good morning. Good morning. Hopefully the double hearing thing is off now, but I'm here on behalf of the cafe. Originally, we had requested a deferral of the application, but we had withdrawn that request because of very productive discussions between the applicant and the cafe. And I just wanted to say that I think that the patio will be on behalf of my client, the patio will be a benefit both to the cafe and to the town.
Hello, Mr. Kimmerer.
Good morning. Good morning. Hopefully the double hearing thing is off now, but I'm here on behalf of the cafe.
Hey, we heard this already.
I know. Deferral of the application, but
So was there anything else you needed to say?
no.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any other member of the public that wishes to speak to the application?
Members of the public are reminded to use the raised hand button or press *9 on their telephone to indicate they would like to address committee. And Chair Stone, I can confirm there are no hands raised.
Thank you very much. Before I open it to questions from committee, I just want to mention that I sit on the BIA board for the town council. And Nancy made a presentation to the board about this, and the board unanimously welcomed it and thinks it's going to be a fabulous addition to the Riverside Mill Park side of Main Street, especially with the construction next summer. So with that, are there any questions from committee about the application? Kenneth Donald.
Thank you, Chair Stone. A question through you to Nancy. The specific use of the patio, is it going to be restricted to the Affogato Cafe?
The patio would be for my tenant, whichever tenant that happens to be, but it would be completely theirs.
Thank you.
Helena Renwick.
I would say through you, Chair Stone, to Nancy, congratulations. I think this is an absolutely wonderful addition to downtown, and I applaud your forward thinking, and I hope that it does allow other neighbors to look at you and say, hey, this is something that's really going to benefit downtown, and especially during that the renovation of the of Main Street. So thank you, Nancy. It's great.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any other comments of committee? All right. Moved by Jason Fitzgerald, seconded by Brandon Stapleton. Be it resolved that minor variance application A34-2020 HTE be approved. The purpose and effect of which is to provide relief from subsection 4.1 of the Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2008-66P to reduce the required number of parking spaces from 3 to 0. Conditional on cash in lieu of parking being provided in accordance with the bylaw 89-200 in the amount of $9,000 and a site plan amendment application being approved. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
No, hang on. May I ask, $9,000 is a lot of money. Is there any negotiation there? It's to start off, to pay that. Number one, the building is struggling. Number two, I want to move forward. I understand the need to have a pot for thinking up ideas for parking spaces and whatnot. It's steep. It's really steep. It's steep for me to go ahead and now fund a fixed patio. There's just lots of costs. And I just believe that it is my private property. I am asking for permission to overturn the use of parking for the patio. But at this time, that's a very steep number. I'm wondering if at all that's negotiable.
Well, to be quite honest, unfortunately, I've already called the question. We voted on the resolution put before us. So
Okay.
there's nothing we can change right now. I would suggest you give Curtis a call and see if there's anything we can do in the near future. But for now, I'm afraid it has to stand as we've just voted.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And we're going to move on to the next application. All right, Curtis, you're going to speak to the Jennings application.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chair Stone. I'm just going to share my screen again quickly. There we are. The subject property is located at 185 Hunters Bay Drive. The lot is designated urban shoreline residential and zoned shoreline residential 1. Application has been submitted to permit the construction of a 73 meter squared dock and 43 meter squared boat port. A minor variance is required to increase the accessory lot coverage from 5% to 6.5%. The subject lands are designated urban shoreline residential, which anticipates low density residential development and associated accessory structures, including docks and boat ports. The plan anticipates these structures will be designed to address navigation, terrain, shoreline character, and natural heritage features. In this case, the shoreline has been assessed as type 2 fish habitat by a qualified professional. The dock and boat port would not create a navigational hazard in the bay. And the structures would be in keeping with the regulations that limit massing of these types of structures, mirroring that of the development in the surrounding area. And of course, that's with the exception of accessory lot coverage. The proposed increased accessory lot coverage from 5% to 6.5% would allow an additional 26.67 meters squared of footprint area for the dock and boat port. To offset this increase, the applicant is proposing to reestablish vegetation abutting the shoreline through site plan control, which will further lessen the visual impact of the dock and boat port in accordance with the official plan. To implement this recommendation, staff are suggesting that the approval of the application be made conditional on the shoreline being revegetated. The application was circulated in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act and no objections have been received. The application appears to conform to the policies of the official plan and provincial policy statement, and therefore staff are recommending approval.
Thanks very much. Just one second.
If you can just note that the previous vote.
Before we move on, I just want to confirm that the previous vote on the Wenger application was confirmed and approved. I need to say that out loud, apparently. So that's done. So having done that, with the Jennings application, I'll ask the applicant or the representative to make any comments?
The applicant or their representatives are reminded to use the raised hand button or press *9 on their telephone to indicate that they would like to address committee. And Chair Stone, oh, sorry, I can confirm there is one hand raised. As a reminder, have your microphone and video, if possible, turned on before you begin speaking, and confirm your name and a mailing address. If you could just please turn on your video and microphone.
Am I hearing the Jeopardy theme song?
I can get it for you if you like, Chair Stone.
Hi, Chair Stone. I'm not seeing any technical difficulties on our side. I'm not certain why we're not able to get this live. Just bear with us for a few minutes. Thank
Okay,
you.
even if we can have audio from them.
Yeah, are you able to unmute? I'm gonna just keep trying on my side. Thank you.
And not to speak out of turn, Mr. Stone, but just for Mr. Jennings' benefit, if you're on a computer, Mr. Jennings, if you just wiggle your mouse, you should see the unmute and video buttons in the bottom left corner of the screen.
So I wanted to suggest just to give this applicant the opportunity to speak. If you did want to call in, we could perhaps get you on that way. The number is 1-647-374-4685. So
Could you just say that once more for him, please?
absolutely, it's 1-647-374-4685. So we'll give him a moment to do that. Okay.
There you are. I can see you, Mr. Jennings. Okay. On the bottom left of the screen is the mute button. You can unclick the little microphone. Okay, Sam, well, Mr. Jennings tries to work that out. I'm going to ask for any members of the public that would like to speak to this application.
Certainly. Members of the public are reminded to use the raised hand button or press *9 on their telephone to indicate that they would like to address committee. And Chair Stone, I can confirm there are no hands raised.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, committee. We're going to move on and ask if there's any questions about the application by committee. Okay, and Mr. Jennings, can you hear us? All right, Sam, we're going to move on. Could you take Mr. Jennings out? Thank you. All right, I'm going to read the resolution. Moved by Helena Renwick, seconded by Kenneth Donald. Be it resolved that minor variance application A 37-2020 HTE be approved. The purpose and effect of which is to provide relief from subsections 3.1.6 and 5.2.4 of the Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2008-66P in order to increase the permitted accessory lot coverage from 5% to 6.5%. Conditional on the primary lot coverage being decreased from 35% to 33.5%, and the shoreline being revegetated to the satisfaction of the town through site plan control. Any comments? Kirsten, you would like to speak? Hello, Kirsten.
Thank you, Chair Stone. I was just going to suggest that perhaps we don't call the question on this application until we have an opportunity to try and connect with Mr. Jennings through telephone, perhaps, because if he was going to submit comments that perhaps he couldn't get through, I just worry that maybe he was going to say something that might change committee's decision or the recommendation. So
All right.
If we could just hold off, we'll try and connect with him.
That's perfect, Chair.
By telephone.
We'll move on to the next application and come back at the end of the meeting to do this.
Thank you.
All right. All right. We're moving on to the next application. Richard is going to speak to this, A36-2020.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, The subject property is located at 203 Highway 60. The lot has an let me just share my screen for the presentation too. And can you confirm that you can see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay, fantastic. I'll start that again. Thank you again. Through you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is located at 203 Highway 60. The lot has an approximate area of 0.72 hectares and an approximate frontage of 78 meters on Ferry Lake and approximately 89 meters of frontage on Highway 60. The lot is designated mixed-use urban, is within the Highway 60 corridor per the official plan, and is zoned Rural 4 with a special exception 1495 in the zoning bylaw. The applicant is proposing to construct a 2,482.98 meter square, 4-story, 59-unit multi-residential condominium building. And the proposal is a minor variance to allow for a height increase to permit certain mechanical and safety design elements that project above the height of the roof, flat roof building. The minor variances being requested are to permit the following specific height increases: from 12.2 meters to 14.75 meters for a 16-meter square stairwell exit, from 12.2 meters to 13.4 meters for a 1.2 meter high glass safety railing attached to the roof parapet and set back a minimum of 0.3 meters from the edge of the roof. And lastly, from 15.1 meters to 16.8 meters for an 18-meter square elevator penthouse. The local planning appeal tribunal, through an order dated May 10th, 2019, approved a 2017 zoning bylaw amendment application for increased height on property from 11 meters to 15.1 meters. The current proposal takes advantage of this increased height through a terraced building that is to be 12.2 meters near the shoreline of Ferry Lake and stepped up to 15.1 meters near Highway 60, except for the height projections just discussed. A site plan amendment application was conditionally approved by Planning Committee in November for this proposal, and this amended an existing approved site plan dating back to 2007 for a 38-unit building occupying a similar footprint. Through staff's review of the site plan amendment application, a concern was noted with respect to the height of the proposed structures atop the flat roof, which require revision to achieve height compliance. Alternatively, it was noted that the proponent could seek relief from the height provisions of the zoning bylaw pertaining to the property, which is why this application is before us today. Policies in the official plan exist to address building height and massing for new development in Huntsville. The policies seek to control height by encouraging new buildings to fit within the character of the immediate area with respect to building height, massing, and architectural features. It is not anticipated that mechanical safety elements and safety elements addressed through this application will result in adverse impacts in this instance, given that the small size relative to the rest of the structure will not contribute to massing of the building, and it will not impact shadowing or overlook given their central location atop the roof. And I don't know if you can see my cursor, but I will point out their location. This is the elevator penthouse, and this is the stairwell, and the glass railing would be around the perimeter of this rooftop patio. The application was circulated to the Ferry Lake Association, and before I talk about that, I should also note that the zoning bylaw does currently contain height exceptions for mechanical structures for sloped roof buildings, but not for flat roof buildings. The application was circulated to the Fairy Lake Association and in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act, and no objections have been received. It should be noted that this circulation for this application indicated that the minor variance requested a height increase from 14.5 meters to 16.8 meters for the 18 meter squared elevator penthouse, representing a 2.3 height projection. This was actually an error, as the zoning, the site-specific zoning for this property actually permits buildings being 15.1 meters, as I described earlier. So the height projection requested would be 1.7 meters, not 2.3 meters. Despite this error, there was no need to recirculate, as the actual effect of the requested variance is less of a height increase than the notice indicated. And just for your context, here are some photos of the property taken at around November this year. And the application appears to conform with the official plan and provincial policy statement. And staff are recommending approval. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have on this application.
Thanks very much. I'll call on the applicant or representative to make any comments about this application.
The applicant or their representative are reminded to use the raised hand button or press *9 on their telephone to indicate that they would like to address committee. And Chair Stone, I can confirm there is one hand raised. As a reminder, have your microphone and video, if possible, turned on before you begin speaking. Please confirm your name and mailing address.
Good morning, Chair Stone, members of committee. Can you
Good
hear
morning.
me? Good morning. It is Russell Cheeseman. I'm a barrister and solicitor. My address is 277 Lakeshore Road East, Suite 211, Oakville, Ontario, L6J1H9. I appear this morning on behalf of the numbered company, the applicant 1384552 Ontario Inc. We've had the opportunity to review the staff report and we are in agreement with it. We've also provided to your staff a planning justification review letter from Plan Muskoka, Mr. Savas Varadas, which basically agrees with the staff opinion on this matter. We think that these variances that are being sought are in fact minor, meet the 4 tests of Section 45(1) of the Planning Act, and quite frankly are very technical in nature. I can just point out that the railing itself that we're seeking relief from for height doesn't count as height if we attach it to the roof. It's a technical variance because the desire is to attach it to the edge of the parapet. And once you do that, then it gets counted technically in the height. So these are sort of very technical variances that are being sought. The other two, with respect to the staircase and the elevator penthouse, are actually quite, frankly, quite unusual because most municipalities do have exceptions in their height definitions in the bylaws to permit an elevator penthouse or a cap over top of a staircase so that the snow doesn't fall down into the stairwell. But in this instance, once we went back and looked at the bylaw, there was a discussion that went around, and we thought this was the best way to resolve it and to deal with it as quickly as possible. So I would ask you to allow the variances that are being sought and conclude that they are in fact in accordance with Section 45(1) of the 45(1) of the Planning Act.
Thanks very much.
I'll answer any questions you have.
All right. Before we open it to committee, I want to ask if there's any members of the public that would like to speak to this application.
Members of the public are reminded to use the raised hand button or press *9 on their telephone to indicate that they would like to address committee. And Chair Stone, I can confirm there are no hands raised.
Thank you very much. All right, members of committee, any comments or questions about the application? All right, I see none. Thank you, Mr. Cheeseman. You can leave the meeting and we will call the question here.
Thank you.
Okay, if you can put it up on the screen. All right, moved by Brandon Stapleton, seconded by Helena Renwick. Be it resolved that minor variance application A36-2020 HDE be approved. The purpose and effect of which is to provide relief from subsection 6.1 of the Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2008-66P, respecting the specific exception 1495 in order to permit the following height increases: from 12.2 meters to 14.75 meters for a 16.2 meter stairwell exit only, from 12.2 meters to 13.4 meters for a 1.2 meter high glass safety railing attached to the roof, parapet, and setback a minimum of 0.3 meters from the edge of the roof only, and from 15.1 meters to 16.8 meters for a 18.2 meter elevator penthouse only. Any comments or questions? All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you
Curtis,
very much.
thank you, Richard. Curtis, were we able to get in touch with Mr. Jennings?
I haven't heard from Mr. Jennings yet.
All right.
Perhaps right after we wrap this up, I can try to give him a call again and see if I can connect with him.
All right. Yeah, Curtis, if you would, and then we're going to go out of the public meetings and to previous business. And then we will come back and do a public meeting for Mr. Jennings so he can speak. So if you can give him a call in the meantime.
Wonderful. I will absolutely do that.
That'd be great. Thank you. All right. So now that all comments have been received, I declare these public meetings respecting the above applications to be concluded. And we are moving on to the previous business of Z 32-2020 and B 48-2020. I didn't realize that Curtis was doing this one too. He might be double tasked here. Councillor Fitzgerald.
Perhaps we should have a 5-minute break and refresh our water glasses and give Curtis that time.
Curtis, okay. Then we will take a 5-minute break right now. All right, everybody back in 5 minutes? Mhm. All right, was Curtis able to get through to Mr. Jennings?
I apologize, Councillor Stone. I was just hanging up the phone. We were just speaking. I understand that he had one of his techie staff members helping him out just to resolve the issue. And I believe that he is in a good place to hopefully address committee.
All right, then we are going to go back to public meetings and let's see if we can get Mr. Jennings back in again.
Thank you, Councillor Stone. I can confirm I do see one hand raised, so we will move Mr. Jennings into the meeting now. As a reminder, please do have your microphone and video, if possible, turned on before you begin speaking, and just confirm your name and mailing address.
Unmute. There we go.
Hello.
Hi there, we can't see you. Can you turn your video on?
Yeah, working on it.
There we are.
Fantastic.
For the trouble, I'm Sandy Jennings from 32 Deerhurst Highlands Drive, Huntsville, Ontario.
Wonderful. Did you have some comments about the application before us?
I agree with the application that was put forth, and I'd like to proceed as application was submitted.
All right, thank you very much. Then I'm going to ask committee if they have any questions for Mr. Jennings. All right, I see no hands. So if you can stop your video now, I am going to reread the question and we are going to vote on the application.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm reading this motion again. So moved by Helena Renwick, seconded by Kenneth Donald. Be it resolved that minor variance application A37-2020 HTE be approved. The purpose and effect of which is to provide relief from subsections 3.1.6 and 5.2.4 of the Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2008-66P in order to increase the permitted accessory lot coverage from 5% to 6.5%. Conditional on the primary lot coverage being decreased from 35% to 33.5%, and the shoreline being revegetated to the satisfaction of the town through site plan control. Any final comments or questions? All in favor? And that's carried. All right. Now we are moving out of the public applications, public meetings, and moving on to previous business. And Curtis, you are now speaking to Z32-2020 and B48-2020.
Thank you, Councillor Stone. The joys of Zoom meetings, right? The subject property is located at Aspenden Road, and sorry, excuse me, I'm just going to briefly share my screen. Here we are. There we go. Again, is located on Aspenden Road. The lot is designated rural and zoned rural 1 and natural resource. The purpose and effect of the consent application is to create one new rural lot. There it is. The severed lands are presently vacant and would have an area of approximately 5.6 hectares with 150 meters of frontage on Aspenden Road. The retained lot is also presently vacant and would have an area of 34 hectares and no frontage on a publicly maintained road. And I just wanted to note for committee's benefit that this application is being processed concurrently with a rezoning application that would see the entirety of the the entirety of the retained lands and a portion of the severed lands shown in blue and red rezoned from a rural 1 zone to a conservation zone to protect a large wetland area and buffer and to prohibit all future development. The lands are designated rural in the official plan, which anticipates single detached dwellings located on large lots fronting on existing year-round maintained and publicly owned roads, as well as conservation areas for expansive undeveloped lands and natural heritage features. In keeping with those policies, the severed lot would meet or exceed the frontage, the size requirements and front onto a publicly maintained road. The retained lands would have no frontage on a municipally maintained road and again contain a large wetland feature that bisects the lot. And again, you can sort of see that in green here. To address these constraints, a wetland assessment was submitted by Riverstone Environmental Solution, Inc., which identified portions of the lot as an open water wetland habitat and delineated the boundary of this feature on the severed lot. The report also recommended the imposition of a 30-meter vegetation buffer around the wetland to limit vegetation removal outside of the development envelope, and to restrict tree removal between April 16th and October 14th to protect maternal roosting periods. Staff have included recommendations to implement the conclusions of the wetland assessment through an agreement which will be registered on title of the lot, and to require that the rezoning of the retained lot, wetland, and wetland buffer be finalized as a condition of this approval. The application was circulated in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. The District of Muskoka has requested that conditions be included to require an agreement respecting the location of wells in relation to the district road, and that a 3-meter road widening across the frontage of the severed lands be dedicated to the district. One letter of objection was submitted, raising concerns about safe access onto the lot as a result of terrain in the area. And in this case, what I tried to do was take some pictures from the driveway location, just sort of showing the view each way. As a condition of the consent application, district staff have also requested that written confirmation be provided from District Public Works that an entrance permit can be obtained on the severed lands as a condition of approval, which should address the objection that we received. The application appears to conform to the policies of the town's official plan and provincial policy statement, and therefore staff are recommending approval.
Thank you very much. So this isn't open for public input, but I'll ask if the applicant or representative wants to comment about this.
The applicant or their representative are reminded to use the raise hand button or press *9 on their telephone to indicate that they would like to address committee. And Chair Stone, I can confirm there are no hands raised.
Thank you very much. Committee members, any comments or questions about this? All right. Then moved by Kenneth Donald, seconded by Jason Fitzgerald. Be it resolved that Committee of Adjustment approve consent application B 48-2020 for the creation of one new rural lot, conditional on a registerable description of the severed lot being submitted to the clerk, including all rights of ways and easements, along with a registered copy of the reference plan. The owner's taxes being in good standing, a site inspection fee of $235 being paid to the town of Huntsville, a consent finalization fee in the amount of $180 being paid to the town of Huntsville, 5% cash in lieu of parkland being paid to the town of Huntsville on the severed lands, the lands being rezoned for their intended use, the owner entering into registering on title an agreement with the town of Huntsville pursuant to section 5126 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, as amended, to implement the conclusions and recommendations of the wetland assessment prepared by Riverstone Environmental Solutions, Inc. Written confirmation from the District of Muskoka that an entrance permit can be obtained, a 3-meter road widening access or road widening across the frontage of the severed lands being dedicated to the district municipality of Muskoka for road widening purposes, and the lands being subject to an agreement with the district of municipality of Muskoka pursuant to section 5126 of the Planning Act RSO 1990 as amended, respecting the location of wells in relation to the district road.
Chair Stone, sorry to interrupt, but we do actually have one hand raised.
We have one hand. Let's have them in.
We do. So I'll move that person in now.
Mr.
Good morning, Chairman Stone, members of the committee. John Gallagher here. I wasn't the quickest draw on clicking the raise hand button, but I was trying to find it and it was under the more. Usually it's sitting front and center, so I apologize. I think Curtis has explained the application quite well. We have an existing lot there that is quite significant in size that could be afforded a building permit today. Purpose of the application is to create this large conservation block in the backlands and protect that from future development. The wetland acts as a natural separation between the two parcels. We had met with staff prior to submitting the application. They asked us to provide a wetland evaluation, which we did, and Riverstone has placed in recommendations, so it's even stronger than what currently exists today on the site. We did see the comments from the neighbor. We understand that the neighbor has some issues with visibility because they're set back, but my client is proposing his entrance at the crest of the hill on the west boundary, and there's significant visibility lines through that area. I think we have read all the conditions of approval, the registration of the environmental report to protect the environment and the zoning to conservation, and we have no objection with the conditions imposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee members, any questions of Mr. Gallagher? All right, wonderful. If you can stop your video, Mr. Gallagher, and I'll call the question. So committee members, you have heard the resolution. All in favor? And that's carried. All right, well, I think we'll get these Zoom meetings running smoothly in about 6 months. So if there's no other comments, moved by Jason Fitzgerald, seconded by Brandon Stapleton. Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 10:03 a.m. All in favor? That's carried. Thanks for your patience, everyone. We'll be better next time.